What are built-in events? Or just events in general. Events in general are things that Roblox listens for. It's events that occur in the game that Roblox listens for, and when that event happens, code runs, or a function that you connect to the event runs. So I'm going to show you how to connect functions, which we've learnt before, and if you don't know what functions are, go watch the previous video on functions that you'll find on my channel in the playlist. But essentially I want to show you how to connect these functions up to events, and the events are just things that can occur that will trigger the function. So to start with, or I'll show you one example of a built-in function or a built-in event, and then for the other built-in events you guys can go read up on the ones that you would want to use, because there's honestly so many. I'll show you guys where to find built-in events as well. You want to go to View, Object, Browser. If you saw the built-in functions video, you'll know where this is again. And you want to navigate to Part. It's all in alphabetical order. So you can just click P if you want to find P. And then scroll down to Part. And you have built-in functions, which are all these. You have properties of the part. You have built-in events. So this is what we're looking at, all the built-in events. We have ancestry changed, attribute changed, dot changed, child added, child removed. We're going to be looking at the touched built-in event for the part. So let's get the part in a variable. Local part is equal to workspace.part. And then to connect part to the event. Now what event are we using? We're using the touched event. So we want a function to fire when this part is touched. So we do part.touched. Touched is the event, and we do part.touched. And we want to connect that to a function. Sorry, but first let's make the function that we're connecting it to, right? So local function, we'll do onTouch, and then just type hit in there for now, but I'll explain that in a sec. And then print I was touched. So every time the part is touched, we want it to run this function, which just prints I was touched. So how do we do that? We do part.touched connect. Very simple, very simple. Colon, you type connect because you want to connect it to a function, and then you'll see that it has these brackets, and we need to enter a parameter into the brackets, and the parameter, as you can see, is a function, and that's how it works. So now we just do onTouch. We type in the function that we want to pass through, and so now every time the part is touched, it is now connected to the onTouch function, and so every time the part is touched, it will run this function. Now let's test it out. So I touch it. As you can see, it says I was touched a bunch of times. And the reason it says it a bunch of times is because all my different body parts are touching it all at once. So like my right foot, left leg, head, you know, all these different body parts are touching at the same time. And so it prints I was touched a bunch of times. Now there's another way to connect a function to an event, which is like this. Print I was touched, and that does the same thing. You just kind of make the function inside of the event. You can do it either way you want, doesn't matter. Now the reason I typed hit here is because when an event is fired, there's usually, or sometimes there's parameters. There's parameters that it sends through. So the .touched event sends through the part that it was touched by. So the instance that the part was touched by, it'll send that through as a parameter, and you can go and get that parameter right here. And I explained what parameters were in the functions video, I think. So hopefully you understand that hit here, when you type hit or you type anything, it's storing the part that touched the part inside of the variable that you type here. And so now we can use this variable and say I was touched by hit. I'll do a colon to make it nice. Alright. And then we'll test that. See? Said I was touched by right lower arm, right upper arm, humanoid root part, upper torso. So that is a cool thing, and you can learn about all of these inside of like the object browser or the Roblox wiki, you know, the dev forum, just online. You can ask ChatGPT. I'll probably leave I'll leave a bunch of common built-in events in the description so that you guys can look at that and go read up on those in case, you know, you don't know where to start. So the next loop I want to go over is for loops. For loops are used to loop over a table a definite amount of times. It can also be used to loop just a set amount of times. So you can make a for loop 10 times every time. So it will only loop 10 times. Or you can make it loop over a table. And when it loops over a table, it loops over each value in that table. And I'll show you an example. So first we're going to loop over a table. Local, we're going to make a table of vegetables, right? So local vegetables is equal to, like, we'll do onion, carrot, potato, lettuce, and then for iv in vegetables do print iv. Now what is this? Let's go over this. So of course we have our table of vegetables, and then we have iv in vegetables do. So this I and v, these can be thought of as variables. I'll actually write full names for them even though nobody does that. Value. So for index value in vegetables do. You may remember what index is from the tables video. Hopefully you do. An index is basically the position of the value in a table. So the index of potato, what would it be? I'll give you 3 seconds. The answer is 3. I gave you a hint. Okay. Onion is 1, carrot is 2, potato is 3, lettuce is 4. You get the idea. The index is the position. So a for loop is looping over each value in a table, and it stores the index of this value in index, and it stores the value that it's looping over in value. And so when we print index, it'll first print 1 for onion, it'll print value, which will be onion, then it'll print 2, and the value will be carrot, and so on. So let me show you an example. 1 onion, 2 carrot, 3 potato, 4 lettuce, right? So pretty, you know, simple. Now, most people just write I and V for iv in vegetables do. That's the common practice, so you should probably just do that. One thing to note is you may also see online or other people do for iv in pears, vegetables do. They use this little pears here. You don't need to use this pairs. This pairs is an outdated thing. You know, Roblox made it so you don't need to do this. You may also see for iv in iPairs. Again, I'm teaching you here the updated methods of things. Yeah, when people use that, when people use pairs and stuff, just know, like, you know, they suck, right? Okay. No, not really. Most people don't even know about this yet, that you don't have to use pairs. A lot of people don't know. So yeah, you don't need to use it. If you see people use it, just tell them, hey man, you don't need to use that anymore. And they'll be like, what? And they'll think you're hella smart. So yeah, just there you go, there you go. So then the second type of loop that I mentioned was to make a loop a defined amount of times. So let's say we want to make a loop 10 times, right? The way we do that is we do for I for index or iteration is equal to 1, 10, do. Now there is a third little thing as well. So what this means is it does for I, so I is storing the loop that it's on, is equal to 1. This is the starting number, this is the ending number, and this is the increments that it goes up in. Now, if I print I, you will see that it will just print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just like that. Now, to make this loop 20 times, I would just do for I is equal to 120. To make it loop 2 times, I just do for I is equal to 1, 2. We'll keep it at 10. And now let's say for I, we want it to only go up in 2s, right? So we'll start it at 2, but of course it would start at 2 and it would go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But we only want I to be in multiples of 2. So the way we can do that is this third number here, we can set that to 2. This means that it starts at 2, it ends at 10, and it goes up in 2s. So it'll go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So that's pretty much how you do defined loops. So there's also another way you can loop over tables. Yeah, so let's say I have a part and I want to loop over each of these parts. What I would do is I'd do local part is equal to workspace.part, and then I would do local table of children is equal to part get children. Now remember, this get children is a built-in function. If you're still confused, rewatch the built-in functions video. Try to understand how this works. We're referencing a part from workspace.part, this part right here, and we're using a built-in function called getChildren. GetChildren returns a list or a table of the children. So table of children is a table of each of the children of the parts, and so now we have a table, data type table, and that means we can use a for loop on it. For iv in table of children do print iv. Now remember, in this block of code you can do anything, right? You can make it wait 2 seconds and then print and then destroy the part if you want. And I'll show you it doing that right after I just print iv first. So 1 other parts 4, 2 other parts 3, 3 other parts 2. It's pretty much just chosen the indexes like at random, in no specific order. But so most of the time, if you're looping over, you don't really need the index, right? If you're looping over a table of children, you don't need an index. You only need the value, really. So you can do something interesting, which saves memory, which is instead of doing I, you can do underscore. So if we're not using I, we can just do underscore. This is what most people do. For underscore v in table of children, meaning we're not going to use I, so we're not going to save a variable for it. We're still going to use v because v is the actual part that's inside of the parts. And so let's say now, for loops still yield the thread, as the previous loops did. While and repeat loops, they also yielded the threads. They yielded the scripts. So if I have a print statement here, loop ended, this will only print once the loop has ended because the script stops here, loops, 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 and then carries on executing the rest of the code. So here it'll pretty much, let me run this. It'll delete something, delete, wait 2 seconds, delete, wait 2 seconds, delete, wait 2 seconds, and then once it's deleted all of the parts children, it prints loop ended because the loop has ended and the script carries on executing afterwards. So in summary, guys, we have the vegetables table, Mel, carrot, broccoli. For iv in vegetables, print iv, this stores the index, this stores the value. It'll print 1 Mel, 2 carrot, 3 broccoli. Then here we have part table of children. We get a table of the children of parts using a built-in function getChildren. And this we can use for loops to iterate over tables. So here we have for underscore v, we use underscore because we do not need the index. So to save memory, we use underscore. For underscore v in table of children do task.wait, it waits 2 seconds and it destroys each thing. And then for defined loops, if we want a loop to loop 5 times, we could do 210. We could do 210 2, which means that this loop's index would go up in 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and that loops 5 times, or we can make it loop 10 times by starting at 1 and making it go up in 1s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. We can make it go up in 2s, we can make it go up in 5s, right? It doesn't matter. We can make it loop, 10,000 times if we want. Just remember that if we do that, it may lag. We probably want to put in a task.wait at that point. That's pretty much it for for loops. They may be a little confusing. Just keep using them. Keep referring back to the video whenever you need to use them because they are extremely useful. And yeah, see you guys in the next one.